this church is special in many ways and has a very special story. First, the construction. As you see here, this is like the old state churches with this kind of, what do you call it? Gallery? We call it Samband, right. All around the house. All the old state churches had that. Whereas the others, with increasing population, had to be made bigger, so they took that gallery down and moved the walls out. They didn't here. And that has a special reason. Usually, these staves, you see four of them here, they carry the upper part of the roof, where there is even a smaller roof and kind of a steeple. But you may wonder, why do they have these staves here, where there is no steeple? And we don't know. So this is kind of a mixture between different types of state churches. This is very special. On the other hand, we have here this is the original room as it looked in the Middle Ages. Also with the half-circled, we call it apsis, A-P-S-I-S. That's the half-circled end of the room. This church wasn't exact on this spot originally. And that's the funny thing here. Because it was down by the lake. But earlier, the lake wasn't regulated in any way. And there were many floods. So it was very, what do you say, damp where the church was standing. And it started to be rotten. And the cemetery that was down there, in the springtime when people died and they had dug up graves, it happened that the graves was filled with water, so that they had to put stones on top of the coffin to make it sink. Anyway, this couldn't go on forever. And in around 1748, they decided to build a new church. The old one was not too good shape any longer, and move it all up here. So they built a new church up there. But the peculiar thing was that under the floor of the new church, for some reason they stored the materials of the old. For some reason, we don't know why. And people didn't know about that. One could say they treasured their old church, so they wanted to keep it in some way or other, but we really don't know. In the 1930s, then the stone foundations under the new church started to fall out, had to be repaired. So they took away part of it. Look underneath. What did they see? Piles of old materials, which I didn't know about. Took it all out, started wondering what was this. Soon I found out it had to be part of the old church. What to do with them? It took a long time, and it was a long debate. One of the options was to rebuild the church at the Valdres Folk Museum in Valdres. But the people in the parish said, no, if this church is going to be rebuilt, it's going to be here. It's our church, period. It took a long time, and they tried first, they put the old materials together, 156 pieces. And then had a reconstruction of the framework to find out, is it possible to do that? And it was. They found out in the end, it is possible to reconstruct it. 90% as it must have looked. And so they did. But they couldn't do it out by the lake. So they were given a piece of land here. And I think it was in 1956 it was inaugurated by the bishop again. And when you look around, you will clearly see where there's new material and where there's old. Most of the roof, as you may see clearly, that's new material. The old sculptured door opening portal out there, and this one. it had been at some time given to a museum in Oslo, which didn't want to give it back, so they made copies, exact copies. But some other old pieces, like the crucifix, like the bishop's stool here, and some other things, they brought back. And like the baptismal font, this is the baptismal font, made out of one piece of wood. And we have many baptismal fonts of this shape, but almost all of them are made of soapstone. This is the only one of 3. So, and since you asked, what is this? In the middle of the floor. And we don't know for sure, but there are traditions about them wanting to bury, what's that called? Fetuses?
Yeah.
After abortions?
Yeah.
In holy ground.
Or miscarriages.
Miscarriages to be put down under the floor. There are, we know that from other churches, and this may have been the case. And it also may have been that here the water used in the baptismal font was holy and was to be poured out here, not anywhere else. One more thing is the ship there, a church ship, the only one in Valdres. Yeah,
Trip the devil.
Trip the devil, yes. And it was easier to make, they had the beam there, and people used to walking across.
They can climb the mountain with the cows, they can climb over that.
Exactly. Usually, I don't know why it is now, I think they may, oh yeah, the one service each year, I think was last week. Otherwise I would have taken all these chairs out. The room is much better without the chairs. You can sit on benches along the walls. That's where the old people sat, the other side of the standing.
Young people have to sit on chairs.
No. The young people have to be standing, of course. Women on this side, men on that side.
So is the partition between the altar area and the common area, is that old?
Yes, because this represents the old small opening from the Catholic time.
Oh, okay.
This was the dark, sinful world. This was the lighted, with the candles and all that, heaven. And that's preached in Latin and all that. And as you see, no pulpit. No pulpit. I think people in old Catholic times here in Norway, they didn't take part in the service. Just listen.